It's time for Watts on Wealth Radio with Barry Watts and your host, Ralph Hipp.
Market volatility has sure been a part of life for those of us who rely on our investments as part of our overall retirement plan. That's where we start today. For many of us who are retired, this represents one of the scary parts of the plan. This past month has reminded us all why. Markets have been anything but predictable, rising and falling, had another big drop recently in response to the economy and world changes. What does the market really look like now? What should we expect going into 2025 and after the election? Welcome into our Sunday Watts on Wealth. This is Ralph Hipp with Barry Watts, taking time to chat with us this Sunday morning, showing us how the markets have reacted to all this worldwide chaos and what lessons we can all learn from the recent shakeup. Barry, you have been a traveling man, and I was calling it while you were in Scottsdale. I was calling it Scottsdale, Arizona, but you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Thankfully, it's doggone hot in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Wow.
I'll tell you that. When I was there was, I think we were on day 56 above 100 degrees. And it was pretty scorching.
That's too much.
So,
That's too much.
I'm glad to be back in the Ozarks. While I was actually out in Scottsdale, it was cool and crisp here. In fact, we had kids on the lake last weekend on the boat, and it was really too cold for them to spend much time in the water. They still did, but none of the adults got in the water. So better to be in the Ozarks always.
Well, and I love when you say that on the show, that, it's always good to be home. Every time you've gone somewhere and come back, great to live in the Ozarks. 'Tis a privilege.
It is. You're referencing what I always post on Facebook when the airplane lands. I always fly American, so I'm on the American Eagle. And so when the plane lands, literally I have it teed up. And when I feel the wheels hit the runway out at Springfield Branson National Airport, I punch go and send the message that says, the Eagle has landed. 'Tis a privilege to live in the Ozarks. And that last sentence, 'tis a privilege, comes off the masthead of the Springfield News Leader. When I was a kid growing up, the front page of the paper always said, 'tis a privilege to live in the Ozarks. And somehow I remembered that and adopted that. And it's become kind of my tradition. And people all across the country, when I run into them who follow me on social media, will know that little phrase. And many of them will comment. I was sitting at a bar in Scottsdale, in fact, and a guy from Chicago came up and sat down, and he couldn't quote it quite right. He said something like, it's sure good to live in Missouri. But I could tell he was quoting, 'tis a privilege to live in the Ozarks.
Close, but not exactly. When
right.
you landed, it was on the financial channels again, and I'm sure it was in the news leader. We've had some more chaotic market activity, haven't we?
Well, America's in chaos right now, Ralph. And when America's in chaos, the markets are a part of that chaos quite often. Because the markets really are just a measure of where people are at emotionally. The markets are an emotional animal, and when people are optimistic and feeling good, they free up their money, and that means they buy stocks and prices go up. And when people get afraid, then they start hoarding their money, and they start taking their money out of stocks, and they start putting that money into their sock drawer or their bank account or wherever it is. And so you can really tell what the emotional makeup of the country is to some degree by what is going on in the markets. I always liken this issue of chaos, particularly as it relates to retirees. And, most of our clients are either retirees or they're trying to become retirees. They're looking forward to retiring. I always liken it to the idea of going to an amusement park and riding roller coasters and merry-go-rounds. When you're young, you ride roller coasters, and boy, they start high and they go low and they twist a lot on the way down, and then they turn around and go high again. And I'm too old for that. I don't ride those. Hurts my back, hurts my feelings, hurts my lunch as it comes back up.
Right.
I'm done with roller coasters, but I am a merry-go-round kind of guy. And I've said, I think even on the show, that if my daughter in St. Louis, hey, shout out to Madison and Zach, if my daughter in St. Louis will give me a grandbaby, I'll hop on that merry-go-round and I'll hold that grandbaby on that little pony on the merry-go-round, and we'll go up and down and up and down and up and down just as long as they want to. So the whole point is both the merry-go-round up and down and the roller coaster soaring to the top and falling to the bottom, plunging. Those represent volatility, and there's one kind of volatility I can tolerate and another kind of volatility that I can't tolerate. And so you've got to know what you can tolerate, and we try to adjust portfolios to our clients' needs. I had a client in just this week. He was 61 years old. He really hadn't had much help in accumulating his money. He had about $500,000. And he said, I just want it safe. If it grows some, that's fine, but I just want it safe. And we hear that from a lot of people, and we're able to provide them that kind of help at the Wealth Care Corporation, because that's what we do, is help people retire with confidence.
And to get in touch with Barry so he can help you retire with confidence through those 6 steps to retirement confidence, his number all around Springfield, 417-200-3500. While we're talking about numbers in the market here, let's get you that phone number again, 417-200-3500 for Barry's Wealth Care Corporation. Barry, September opened with another 700-point drop in the Dow in the market. A lot of volatility again. And for the investor, market volatility works both sides of the street. Can it be a good thing and a bad thing?
Well, absolutely. Volatility can be a very good thing. But we don't pay much attention when it's good, and when it's scary, we're really badly scared.
Roller coaster.
It's too easy to focus on the negative stuff. So in a span of 1 week back in August, we saw one of the worst performing days of the year, followed by one of the best performing days of the year. It all happened starting on Monday. It was August the 5th, I believe I have the date correct. The S&P had its worst day so far all year. The Dow lost more than 1,000 points in one day. The NASDAQ dropped 6% in one day. Companies like Apple and NVIDIA and Tesla all plummeted. I guess that means your Tesla cars just stopped in the middle of the street and your Apple phone didn't work. Oh, no, that's not what happened. Your phone still worked and your car still drove. But the emotions that people felt toward those companies caused those companies to drop in price. And when that happened here in America, well, when America catches a cold, the rest of the world gets a flu, is kind of the way it works. Or when America has a little cough, the rest of the world catches a cold. So in Europe and Asia, all the markets everywhere responded to the losses that happened in America, and therefore the markets were down across the world. But later on that very same week, so within a few days span of time, the S&P 500 surged up 2.3% in one day. It marked the biggest daily gain for that index so far in 2024, up 2.3%. So that's upward volatility, the kind that we investors love. So you had the biggest loss and the biggest gains all within 3 days of each other. And that's the kind of stuff that makes people nauseous. That's the roller coaster sort of approach. And we try to take our clients off the roller coaster and put them on the merry-go-round, because when the markets are going up, we want them to participate in markets that are rising. But when the markets are falling, we want them to be protected and buffered from that kind of negative volatility. That's the sort of stuff that I talk about, Ralph, in my book, my new book that's just been released a month or so ago called What's on Wealth. What's on Wealth. If you don't get it, my last name is Watts, and our topic is wealth. It's Watts, opining on wealth. What's on Wealth. You can get it at Amazon, but I've got good news for you. You don't have to get it in Amazon. In fact, if you'll just send us a text and text the word book to the number that Ralph's about to give you, we will actually send you out an autographed copy of What's on Wealth, because we want to get this book in the hands of as many people as possible. It talks about these things like risk and volatility and retirement planning and making sure you have enough income in retirement and Medicare planning and taxes and all those sorts of things. It's all covered in my book, What's on Wealth, and I just want people to have a copy of it. So you can go buy it. And if you do, thank you. We appreciate the little penny that we make when you do that. But we'll actually send you a free copy if you'll just text the word book to the number Ralph's going to give you.
Right, and it's BOOK to 417-200-3500, 200-3500. You can text VISIT right now this Sunday. Do it today. Text book to that same number, 417-200-3500. Barry will get the book right out to you. The book is free. The first complimentary conference with Barry, also no charge for that. Barry, on the ups and downs and all arounds of this amusement park of market volatility we're talking about, and in the book, it's written in there, what are some of the things we can learn as an average investor of what's going on now? What's the lesson for us?
Yeah, there are all kinds of lessons. How much time do you have, and how much lesson do you want Grandpa to give you? Just sit here on the porch and we can go round and around and around until you'll be nauseous probably from the lessons alone. But the simple big picture I want people to get is this. Volatility in itself isn't a good thing or isn't a bad thing. It's just reality. It's a part of the process. But because we can't predict when things will be shaky in the market far enough ahead of time, even though we know it's going to happen, we have to buffer and protect ourselves from that so it doesn't make our financial plan unstable, doesn't make our retirement income unstable, and doesn't make our emotions unstable. So remember, volatility can be good because it can make things go up. So here's the deal, Ralph. There are strategies to take advantage of negative volatility when the markets are going down, and there are strategies to take advantage of positive volatility when the markets are going up. There are investment strategies even, get a load of this. This will blow your brain a little bit. There are investment strategies that actually make money when the stock market is losing money. But unless you have those strategies deployed for you at those times, you can't take advantage of them. So you've got to have a retirement plan that is designed to anticipate both those possibilities, negative volatility, positive volatility. And we build that kind of thinking into the design work that we do for our clients when we build retirement plans for them at the Wealth Care Corporation.
And that retirement confidence. Barry and I are talking about the turmoil in the market again this summer into the fall and how to move forward into our retirement, if it is now for you or next year. And if we just feel queasy about all this, Barry, how do you help us navigate through the challenges of the economy we have going on today?
Well, first, don't be embarrassed about feeling queasy or about saying to me, hey, Barry, I feel queasy. Yeah, I get it. Do you think I don't feel queasy some days? But here's how we think about it. You have to reframe your thinking and it'll really help. First of all, if you could take the worst possible case scenario and apply it to your situation, and we can do that, by the way, and if you could see that you still come out unscathed in terms of income and in terms of having retirement money all the way till you're 100 years old, would that be a good thing for you? If in the worst case scenario, you were still unscathed, would that give you a sense of confidence? The answer ought to be yes. Now, I can show you ways to guarantee that you will never lose when the market goes down, and you will always gain when the market goes up. We build that kind of planning and thinking into our portfolio. And so all I know to do is to tell people they shouldn't think the world is roses and always going to be a sunshiny day, because some days are going to be stormy. But when it's stormy, don't think every day is going to be stormy. The sun will come out tomorrow. It'll be okay. And so we have to have a plan built to deal for the stormy days and the sunshine days, because all of those are a part of our future.
And of course, you'll be getting all through this in the Ozarks, one of the great places in the world to live. So we'd rather have those sunshiny days, right? And to call Barry, get your conversation going with him. Text today, text the word visit right now, 2417 200-3500, 417-200-3500, and text that word book to Barry while you're at it too. This is Ralph Hipp along with J. Barry Watts, the main retirement wealth designer from the Wealth Care Corporation of Springfield. Watts on Wealth, the name of the book and the radio show. We'll take a break, be right back, and more of our conversation coming up.
Having trouble planning your retirement? Planning doesn't have to be complicated. Barry Watts can help you simplify it with his Retirement Toolkit. In it, you'll find a copy of his Retirement Income Planning Booklet, plus information on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your toolkit, text KIT, that's K-I-T, to 417-200-3500. That's KIT, K-I-T, to 417-200-3500.
Do you think you'll pay lower taxes in retirement? Really? Many people go into retirement assuming that, but end up paying as much, if not more, in taxes than when they were working. How taxes can affect your retirement is one of the chapters in Watts on Wealth, the latest book written by local tax strategist and retirement designer Barry Watts of the Wealth Care Corporation. Barry takes you through the many tax considerations you should make before you retire. To get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, call 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. The book is full of actionable retirement tips and strategies Barry has gathered from his more than 30-year career in helping families just like yours retire successfully. Get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, now by calling 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. Advisory services provided through WealthCare Asset Management, LLC.
Are you worried about where your money will go in retirement? No need to worry. Barry Watts is here to help you plan for your retirement future. Just text VISIT to 417-200-3500 to set up a meeting with Barry Watts to see what he can do for you. Again, that's text VISIT to 417-200-3500 today.
Welcome back in on a beautiful Sunday morning, and Barry and I are glad you're with us. By the way, I want to dedicate our show to President Jimmy Carter. I'm crossing my fingers for Jimmy, rooting for the former president. He turns 100. We have another member of the Centenary Club coming in October 1st, President Carter to turn 100 years of age. And Barry, you've said, we can do it. Our plan is to cover your retirement all the way to 100. So he's about to do it, and a lot of us can too.
Well, Ralph, I always think it's interesting when you hear about Jimmy. You know, I liked him so much personally. I don't like his politics very much, but he's almost too old a man to have politics now. He's pathetic when you see him. Bless his heart. We all look that way, I guess, when we get to be 100. And, you know, Jimmy is going to set the world record for being on hospice. Because he's been on hospice like 18 months or something like that already. So he's a tough old bird, and he's going to hang with it, probably hang with it long enough to get to November and cast his vote for Kamala, if I were guessing. That's all right. I'll cancel out his vote. But yes, Jimmy's turning 100. Happy birthday, Mr. President.
That's right. As I said, a great Christian man, all the work he did for Habitat for Humanity. So we're rooting for Jimmy, and like I said, it is possible, friends. We can live to be 100. And if you do, you're going to want to have a plan for that. Well, back to our conversation, and whether it's the threat of the world conflicts overseas, uncertainty about government policies now or after the election, the outbreak of any other global pandemic that may be along, there could always be another storm on the horizon. We can't stop the storms from popping up. Have you ever tried to stop a tornado in the Ozarks? You can't do it. But we can put strategies in place, Barry, to navigate around those and to be in a more optimal position when they get here.
Well, we certainly can. As we begin planning retirement, there are just so many factors that can have an impact positively or negatively on your retirement, and you have to take all of those factors into consideration. We really find that people run into trouble when they start taking money from their retirement accounts, and that's why you saved it, was to take money out of it. But if you're taking money from those accounts, let's say you're removing 3 or 4% a year, and, you know, in your mind, you're thinking, well, my account will probably earn 5%. So if I withdraw 4%, I ought to be okay. But the math doesn't support that. And here's why. Let's say you're withdrawing 3 or 4%. And let's say that the market goes down 10%. So your accounts go down 10%. Well, now you didn't withdraw 3 or 4%. You ultimately withdrew 13 or 14%. And you could do that 3 years in a row, because we have had 3 back-to-back years where the markets were down in total a little over 50%. Add a 4% per year withdrawal over those 3 years. That's another 12%. That's a 60% slide down in 3 years. What if that was the first 3 years of your retirement? Well, you're going back to work is what you're doing, because you can't stop buying groceries or paying your water bill just because the markets hit your retirement accounts hard. So here are some things that we do to help. First of all, it's very important that you know what you own and that you analyze it. For example, we had a very smart, significantly wealthy guy in the office this week who is a physician. He has more risk in his portfolio than even the S&P 500, though he's told us he doesn't want that much risk. And he's getting a lower return than the S&P 500. And he's paying 1.5% per year to one of those famous TV advisors who says, we do better when our clients do better. Now, the reality is, if he wanted an S&P 500 return, he could get that return for only 0.03%. That's 3% of 1%. But he's paying 1.5% of his whole portfolio to take more risk than the S&P 500, and he's getting less return than the S&P 500. He's paying over $80,000 a year for what he could have gotten for about $1,900 a year. But here's the problem. He didn't know. And so we educate people on these things by, first of all, when they come to see us, digging into what they own and saying, why do you own this? Do you know how this works? Do you know what this is? Do you know what the risk factor is on that? And then we take their portfolio and we stress test it. And we say, what if we had another great recession like 2007, 8, and 9? How would your portfolio bear up under the Great Recession? What if we had 3 back-to-back negative years like 2000, 2001, 2002? How would your portfolio stand up? What if we had 2022 when the markets were down about 22%? How would your portfolio stand up in all of those things? So we can stress test and see how you do. And then we can start designing strategies that are aimed to protect you from those negative kinds of situations. Talk about some moves you can make that might preserve your life savings from some of that downside risk. Now, Ralph, there's not any charge for the initial conversation to do this, and there's no obligation either on anyone's part. We aren't obliging ourselves to take you on as a client. You're not obligating yourself to become our client. We're just having a conversation to talk about it, and we like to have those conversations. There's only one thing that we ask of people who come to see us, and it is that you have to have saved at least $250,000 for retirement. And here's simply why. The strategies we use, the tools that we get out of our toolbox and we bring to work on your situation, they just don't work on lesser amounts of money. You got to have about $250,000 to begin to see these tools making sense. And if you've got that $250,000 or $2.5 million, whatever it happens to be, it doesn't matter. We can help you as long as it's more than $250,000. Well, call us today. And when you call, just say, hey, I want one of those retirement stress tests that Barry's talking about. The number to call is 417-200-3500. 417-200-3500. And when you do call, of course, because it's Sunday morning, you'll be leaving a message, but we will call you back first thing on Monday morning. One of my staff will. They'll schedule a time for us to talk probably on the phone first, unless you want to come on into the office. And if so, they'll schedule you an appointment to do that. But we'll get you on the right path to examining what you own and how it performs in all of those stressful markets and making sure you've got the right strategy in place with your investments and the right strategies for income so that you know for sure what your income is going to be every year in retirement between now and the time that you reach the end of your life. And that way, you don't have to make panic-based decisions because what you heard on the news was negative today. Give us a call, 417-200-3500, and we'll be glad to take care of you at the Wealth Care Corporation.
Friends, just please do make that call, and things you'll talk about with Barry, your risk tolerance, that income analysis, protecting your principal, all some of the basic things that Barry works on. 417-200-3500 right here in the Ozarks. Well, let's shift gears to what we call our major topic of the day. A few years after the passage of the Secure Act, around 2019, more changes are in store. It's been tweaked, and we have the passage of the Secure Act 2.0. This second tweak of the act is our main topic. And Barry, let's take it from the top. Originally, when you have a 2.0, well, that should be better. But there had to be a Secure Act 1.0. Basically, what did that first Secure Act do for us or do to
Ralph,
us?
The original Secure Act was kind of a tip of the hat. It was Washington saying, we've got a problem out there, and we probably ought to figure out how to solve that problem. And so it was designed to make retirement plans easier for businesses to institute retirement plans for their employees and for people to participate. One thing it did is it made it automatic for you to sign up for the 401k. So, for example, people who come to work at the Wealth Care Corporation, a part of signing on is they immediately are enrolled in our 401k. And if they don't want to put money in the 401k, and why would you not want to when we're giving you a match on it? But if they don't want to put money in the 401k, then they have to say, no, I don't want to do that. And they have to opt out of it. Another thing it did is it delayed when you're required to make withdrawals from your retirement accounts. Originally that was 70.5. And the Secure Act said, no, not going to require it at 70.5. Now you don't have to make withdrawals until you're 72. And then it changed how people who were not spouses who inherited IRAs or retirement accounts had to withdraw the money so that if you are not the spouse of the person who died, you're required to get all that money out within 10 years. And the reason that the government wants you to do that is they want you to pay the taxes on it. So they have narrowed that window down. Used to be you could take it out over the rest of your life. And they said, nope, you got to have it all out in 10 years. So those were some of the big key factors that came with the Secure Act in its original iteration.
All right, and now let's do the 2.0. Barry, let's talk about some of the key changes in the new legislation. As you said, allowing employees under 59 and a half to make an emergency withdrawal of up to $1,000 without any penalty.
Well, you can do that only on some plans, though the plan has to have adopted that as well. And you have to pay it back within 3 years if you make this withdrawal. Now, here's something I just want to observe. If you can't handle a $1,000 emergency, well, you need to really think about how you're handling your finances, because if you can't handle a $1,000 emergency, that means you're living way too close to the edge. And I personally would not favor the institution of this $1,000 withdrawal for emergency purposes because I think it makes it too easy for people to declare an emergency and suck $1,000 out of their account when they didn't really have an emergency. Truth be told, though, probably the people who are going to do that are going to pull that money out as soon as they can and spend it anyway, and in some cases pay the penalty to get to do it early. So indeed, there is a provision there, Ralph. It's just not one that I'm a great fan of.
And another thing, it requires that automatic 401k enrollment at the rate of at least 3%, not more than 10%. It increases part-time workers' access to their retirement accounts, tax and penalty-free rollovers to Roth IRAs from 529 college savings accounts that are at least 15 years old, creating tax credits for small businesses, letting military spouses enroll right away in investment and retirement plans, and makes it easier for annuities to be part of our income option for retirees. Anything on that list strike your attention, Barry, you'd like to talk more about?
Well, a lot of this is window dressing. When you just ask the question, so is this going to be a game changer for American workers? The answer is no, not really. There's some interesting things there, like being able to, if your kids don't spend the $529 on college, you can roll it over to a Roth IRA. Okay, that's a pretty neat idea. I think it is helpful that they've allowed annuities to come into 401k plans, because being able to preserve some of your money through an annuity is a good idea as well. But I don't think there's anything that's going to make you ultimately successful or cause your failure that's wrapped up in Secure Act 2.0.
All right. That's what we're discussing on the Watts on Wealth radio show. Time for our halftime break here, and we have the second half of our show coming up. Don't go anywhere. Don't go far. Barry and I will continue our conversation about the Secure Act 2.0 in just a few minutes here.
Taxes. Can't live with them, can't live without them. But if you're looking for someone to help you pay as little taxes in retirement as possible, just give Barry Watts a call at the Wealth Care Corporation at 417-200-3500. That's 417-200-3500 to see what Barry Watts can do for you.
According to the U.S. debt clock, in the time you hear this commercial, our nation's debt will go up by $1.5 million. That's more than $2 billion a day. Right now, our debt is over $31 trillion and climbing fast. The question is, how do we pay it off? One of the most likely answers is increasing taxes. Now think about your retirement accounts. Do you want to pay taxes on some of that money now when rates are historically low, or later when rates are potentially higher? Whether you should pay taxes now or in retirement depends on a lot of things. Barry Watts and the team at WealthCare know what to look for. Barry can help you create a plan so your retirement is as tax efficient as possible. Call 417-200-3500 to set up a tax strategy session with Barry Watts and the WealthCare team. That's 417-200-3500. When taxes go up, will you be ready? Call now, 417-200-3500.
Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Having trouble planning your retirement? Planning doesn't have to be complicated. Barry Watts can help you simplify it with his retirement toolkit. In it, you'll find a copy of his retirement income planning booklet, plus information on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your toolkit, text KIT, that's K-I-T, to 417-200-3500. That's KIT, K-I-T, to 417-200-3500.
Watts on Wealth is the radio show, and it's also the TV show. You'll see Barry and me on KY3. And by golly, Watts on Wealth is the name of Barry's new book, which just came out a few weeks ago. You can text book, just simply text that word book to 417-200-3500. Right, Barry?
Hey, Ralph, there's some news that you don't know about because you said KY3. And while that's true, you can also catch us over on CBS, KOLR, Channel 10.
Well, that's
Springfield. And also on KRBK, which is the Fox station in Springfield. So we're now on Saturdays and Sundays. And we're on 3 stations, CBS, NBC, that's KY3 and KOLR. And we're on the Fox station, KRBK. So that's some new information that you probably didn't even know about. But congratulations. You're now everywhere except your old home at KSPR.
I was the original anchorman of KSPR long ago in the late 80s, and that's the only station I'm not on right now. Maybe for a reason, I don't know. But, well, we're spreading our reach. Barry, that's great. And as you say, you've checked our local listings, so you can catch us on all 3 of those stations, KY3, Color 10, and KRBK Fox. Also, I was going to mention, Barry, with watching the TV show, listening to us Sundays on our radio show, reading through your book, going through your YouTube channels and the videos you posted there, and some funny things about, the lesson you learned on the boat dock. All these things together give us the whole picture of what you're all about at the Wealth Care Corporation. So we encourage you to do it all. Watch us on TV, listen to our radio show, read the book, and watch the videos too.
Yeah, those videos are on the YouTube channel on What's on Wealth. So if you just go to YouTube and type in What's on Wealth, it'll bring up for you, I don't know, there's probably 50 videos on there.
50.
From 2 minutes to 20 minutes talking about any variety of subjects that you might find helpful.
Says, friends, all you have to remember is What's on Wealth wherever you're searching or watching or listening, and that'll get you there. Barry and I are talking about the Secure Act 2.0. Barry, are there some other changes in 2.0 we haven't mentioned so far that you may like to go over right here?
Well, one of the ones I like is the addition of catch-up privileges.
Yes.
So, because the idea is we're all a little bit behind on our savings for our retirement plans. So, for example, this year, if you're in a 401k plan and you're over the age of 50, you can actually put in $7,500 additional dollars this year in order to help you catch up. And in 2025, if you're over 60, you can start putting in $10,000. And so you should be catching up. And let me tell you when to catch up. You should do it the first week of January in the year that you are eligible to do so. You know, a lot of people, Ralph, used to wait and make their IRA contributions in April, the same time they paid their taxes. But when you make that IRA contribution, you're making it for the previous year. You could have made it the previous year in January. If you had made it the previous year in January, that gives you an entire year, plus January, February, March, and half of April in this year to have been earning on your account. So it gives you about 15 months more compounding time. You do that every year over a 30 or 40-year retirement, it winds up being a whole lot more money in your account because you compounded it 15 months earlier. So I really like that provision. Another one that I think is helpful to us is they pushed back the age for required minimum distributions from 73 to age 75. And so now you take it at age 73, but if you're like me, I was born in 1963, I won't have to take my required distributions until I'm 75 years old. And there is a penalty, though, if you fail to take them, and that penalty is going to be 25%, just something to know about. So those are some of the things that I think are most significant about the Secure Act 2.0 that I'm delighted are a part of what has been adopted.
Sounds great, Barry. Yes, we had heard originally 70 and then 72 on to 73 and pushing on to 75. Pushing back this age for the RMDs is surely going to have an impact. What are more of your thoughts on that, the impact of it?
Well, I think it's microscopic, actually. It's microscopic freedom. The government's not going to tell you what to do for an additional 2 years. Now, in my opinion, the government shouldn't be telling you what to do, period. You should be telling the government what to do. That's the way the system was designed. But like sheep who are led to slaughter, we tend to follow whatever the government says without ever questioning, and that causes the government to usurp more and more and more of our individual power and rights. And I'm off on a little bit of a rant there. The big theme here is that, moving it from 73 to 75, well, that's just 2 years less of the government telling you what to do. It delays the amount that you have to take out and when you have to take it out. And mathematically, that will increase the dollar amount that you are taking out than when you finally do start your required minimum distribution. I don't think it's a game changer or life changing, but I'm always in favor of the government getting out of our way. And they've gotten out of our way a couple of years there.
I don't think there's any disagreement about that. And one of the provisions we talked about is reducing the penalty for not taking your RMD. What are the current penalties and how could we avoid those?
Well, Ralph, the penalty, if you fail to make your required minimum distribution in a timely way, and there are deadlines by when you must make that distribution. If you fail to do that, you have to pay, originally it was set up, you had to pay a 50% excise tax or penalty for failing to make the distribution. So let's say you're in the 30% tax bracket, and let's say your distribution is $10,000. Now, normally, if you make your distribution, you have to pay the tax. That's going to be 30% of $10,000. That's going to be $3,000. But if you fail to make the distribution and pay the taxes, then you get a 50% penalty on top of that. So 50% of $10,000 is $5,000. Plus now you have to pay the tax, which is $3,000. So you could wind up paying $8,000 of your $10,000 to the government in taxes and penalties for failing to make your required minimum distribution. There's no excuse for failing to make that distribution. Now, somewhere, I don't know who or where, but somewhere, some congressman's mother failed to make her distribution. The reason I say that probably happened is because they changed the law. Now, it's no longer a 50% penalty. It's been reduced to 25%. So it's still the same thing. In that case, you'd still wind up paying $5,500 out of $10,000, or a total of 55% in taxes and penalty. But that's reduced it down from about 80%. So, if you're paying less to the government in penalties, I think that's a good thing when the government reduces penalties. And that is another factor that was a part of the Secure Act 2.0.
Barry and I this weekend are walking through some of the big changes to our retirement planning system here in the U.S. because of the Secure Act 2.0. The main goal of all this is helping more of us do a better job of saving for retirement. Barry, for people already getting close to retirement age, how do they know if they've saved enough to get involved in all this?
Well, Ralph, I think there's only one way to know, and that is to have a retirement income plan prepared. I had some clients in this week who are in their late 50s. He's a minister at a church here in town. She works for a big corporation in the transportation industry. And, they're afraid. And we were able to show them that when they retire and start spending at the rate they said they wanted to, they're going to have money to last all the way till they're 100 years old. And when they die, they'll have about $2 million left. And so they were pleased with that, but it's a little bit hard to believe just that number that's appearing there on the computer screen, because inside they know it's costing more and more and more to live every year. So what I do is I show them that same report every time they come in, and we adjust it for the latest numbers based on how much is in their accounts now. And it just grows a little bit every year. So there's a little bit more showing up in there. And eventually what happens is they begin to trust that, and it rests inside them. And they say, I've seen the numbers. I trust the numbers. I'm going to live in the facts and not with the fear. So let's get a retirement income plan prepared for you. We can do that for you at the Wealth Care Corporation. And you don't have to be afraid of unknown things, because you can know what the facts are about your own retirement income.
That's the whole idea. And Barry can run the numbers for you and your family. Where are you right now? Where do you want to be? Barry's number to get in touch, once again, it's 417-200-3500 on this beautiful Sunday morning in the Ozarks. Text the word visit or text the word book right away to 417-200-3500. Aside from us having saved enough money, Barry, for retirement, what else goes into that comprehensive retirement income plan that you can help us put together?
Well, one of the things that we always start with is we tell people we have to know their sitting on the porch number. How much money has to be deposited into your account every month,
right,
in order to retire and have the income that you need. And when people come up with that number, then I start asking them questions about the number. One of the questions I ask is, now, did you include travel in that number? Because you've told me you want to travel. Well, no, I didn't. Okay, well, how much are you going to spend on travel? So we have to add some to it. Then I ask, what about automobiles? You're going to have to replace some automobiles in retirement. Have you included that in the number? Well, no, I really haven't. And then we even ask about teeth, about 70. I don't know, Ralph, that's your age. About 70, yeah, I find that sometimes
I've still got all my teeth, by the way. I thought I'd better throw that in.
Well, we thought you might be from the Ozark Hills, where not everybody does have all their teeth.
That's
but we're
right.
Related to, we're related to most of them on both sides, so that's okay. We understand. Now here's the point. People, as they retire, often they will start having dental issues about age 70-ish. And it's not unusual for somebody to come in and need a check because they've dropped $10,000 at the dentist office. So hearing aids can cost you $6,000 or $7,000. Your Medicare supplement or your copays, if you don't use a supplement and use a Medicare Advantage plan, your supplements and copays can cost you $2,000 or $3,000 per year each. So that's $4,000 to $6,000 right there. So all these things add up, and we have to be sure they're all included in your retirement spending plan, and we have to be sure that plan is comprehensive. So those are some of the things that we talk about to be sure we've dialed into the number accurately.
Barry, thanks for all your great advice and information on the Secure Act 2.0. And Barry, friends can help you figure out that sitting on the porch number for you, sitting on the porch money, the risks you're taking or would be able to take, how to turn what you've saved into an income stream in retirement, and especially inflation and taxes, but inflation keeping up with the rising cost of living. And it's not about hitting for the big score. We're not doing any of this to make you rich. Barry just wants to help make sure you don't end up outliving your money. So that number is 417-200-3500. And do take advantage of the special offers and the expertise of Barry Watts at Springfield's Wealthcare Corporation. And Barry, we just have a few seconds, but the 6 steps to retirement confidence, that's the whole thing right there in a nutshell.
Well, confidence is the whole thing, Ralph. So you don't approach it like my grandma, Mama Ernestine Cox from Abbeville, Missouri. She was a warrior, and she would say, "Oh, my heavens," and she would wring her hands in worry and concern. What we're trying to do is make it so when you retire, you don't have to wring your hands with worry because you know that the checks are going to hit your mailbox regularly.
All right. And speaking of the mailbox, I'm glad you said that, Barry. We're about to get to one of our favorite parts of the show, whether it's on TV or on the radio. We're going to open up some of your questions, and Barry will answer some of those for us. It's our mailbag section, and it's coming up next as Watts on Wealth, the radio show, returns to your radio right after this.
Having trouble planning your retirement? Planning doesn't have to be complicated. Barry Watts can help you simplify it with his retirement toolkit. In it, you'll find a copy of his retirement income planning booklet, plus information on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. To get your toolkit, text KIT, that's K-I-T, to 417-200-3500. That's KIT, K-I-T, to 417-200-3500.
Do you think you'll pay lower taxes in retirement? Really? Many people go into retirement assuming that, but end up paying as much, if not more, in taxes than when they were working. How taxes can affect your retirement is one of the chapters in Watts on Wealth, the latest book written by local tax strategist and retirement designer Barry Watts of the Wealthcare Corporation. Barry takes you through the many tax considerations you should make before you retire. To get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, call 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. The book is full of actionable retirement tips and strategies Barry has gathered from his more than 30-year career in helping families just like yours retire successfully. Get your free copy of Watts on Wealth, the book, now by calling 417-200-3500 or go to wattswealth.com. Advisory services provided through Wealthcare Asset Management, LLC.
Are you worried about where your money will go in retirement? No need to worry. Barry Watts is here to help you plan for your retirement future. Just text VISIT to 417-200-3500 to set up a meeting with Barry Watts to see what he can do for you. Again, that's text VISIT to 417-200-3500 today.
Time now to get to the final part of our hour together. We have a lot of mail to answer, focusing on your questions for Barry to get his expert answers. Barry, here's our first one this Sunday, our first question. My wife has never worked since her health has always been giving her issues. Can she claim benefits based on my record and how that would affect my own benefits?
Well, there's not enough information in the question for me to answer it definitively. I can tell you that she can qualify for some disability benefits on as little as 6 credits. a credit is a quarter's worth of work. So each year that you work, you get 4 credits. So if she's ever worked and has 6 credits, she can qualify just a bit. But in general, she's not going to be allowed to draw on her husband's record, but there are even some exceptions to that. So what I'm going to suggest is you need to get some more specific data together. I would recommend you go directly to the Social Security Administration office down on West Battlefield in Springfield and sit down with them and have them help you out. If you're outside of Springfield, I know Social Security has got offices in outlying towns as well. There's one up in Lebanon. I think there's one in Branson, maybe down in Harrison, certainly over in Joplin. So go see them and let them help you with this, because you really need to dial into this and get the answer correct.
Here's another one. I was reviewing my pension plan, Barry, and the option I chose when I was a new employee might not provide much for my wife if I die before she does. So he's asking, is there anything I can do to make this right? Is there anything I can set up now so she can still have income if I'm the one who dies first?
Well, the good news is, yes, there are a lot of things you can do.
All
And the
right.
first thing I would suggest is let's go back and talk to them in human resources and see if you can change that election, because you may very well be able to make a change to the election that you set up some time ago. The next thing you can do is you can actually create your own pension. If they won't let you change it and they start sending you a check monthly, you can either use a portion of that check to buy life insurance on yourself so that when you die, then there is a big amount of money that comes into your wife to provide her own pension. Or when the time comes for you to retire, you could actually, instead of taking the pension, you could say, pay me out. I want it all in cash. And they would give you that money. You'd put it in an IRA account, so it's a non-taxable transaction. And then from that IRA account, we could build you a private pension that will last for your life and your wife's life. So you would know that you both had income lasting forever. So there are a lot of things you can do to fix that situation. You just need to know what some of your options are. That's our job at the Wealth Care Corporation, is to help you learn about your options and really pencil out and figure out which one is going to be the best one for you to choose.
Hey, so this will be a great decision for you. Get with Barry Watts. And how can you help me out, Barry? Your particular situation for you and your wife and your family, you and your husband and your family, no matter which one of you is listening. Hopefully, by the way, I would mention, I hope that you go see Barry as a couple. And Barry, I think you do require that, don't you? You have to meet with both of them.
It is required. You
Not one or
cannot
the other.
come if you do not bring your spouse unless you're getting a divorce. Now, there are exceptions. You know, I had one guy come he was in his 90s and he said, my wife has Alzheimer's. She's bedridden. Okay,
Right.
Totally different deal.
Totally
But
get
no, Ralph, if you tried to come today, I would say, where's Sheila? You got to bring your spouse because she's involved in the retirement plan as well.
Boy, she sure is. If you meet her, Barry, you'll find out how much really involved in it. And she gets to do all that, and I get to talk to you. So between the two of us, I think we got it working out. And you can work it out. 417-200-3500 is the number to call all around the Ozarks to reach Barry Watts at the Wealth Care Corporation, 417-200-3500. Well, this family, I think my wife and I, we've got it together. I think we do a great job. Here's a couple that they have a problem, Barry. I found a box of statements when I was cleaning out our closet. Does that sound familiar? And I realized I have no idea how much money is in our accounts. I manage the checking account because I'm the one who pays the bills. And I don't know much about what else my husband's managing on his side. So once again, get it together. And she's saying, what should I do?
Well, I think she should go to the phonograph, the stereo, the record player. And I think she should put on an album, or maybe it's on a CD, but she needs to put on that old hymn that Billy Graham used to sing at the end of every one of his sermons, just as I am without one plea. And she needs to invite her husband to come to Jesus, because the simple fact is it's time for them to have a meeting. And they need to figure out what they've got. They've got to get their arms around their money and get it all written down on one page. Ralph, that's one of the things that we do for our clients. Is, sometimes people bring in a little bit of a mess. Now, frankly, we don't appreciate that, but we'll help them. We'll help them sort through the mess if that's what we have to do, because we need to figure out for them how much money they really have. Let's get an inventory taken, and let's write it down on one sheet of paper so we know how much money is in his IRA, how much money is in her IRA. We know when the ages are, when they're going to have to start making their required minimum distributions. That's the only way we can figure out if they have enough income to last for their lifetime. So they've got to get their arms around this situation. And then what we do is every year we update the inventory. Okay. How much money is there now? How much money's in each account now? How much money's in the bank now? And sometimes people say, well, my bank account's been building up. I got $50,000 sitting over there. What's the bank paying you? Oh, nothing, basically. Well, so you're letting $50,000 be lazy. Wow. Did you know that could be like $2,500? Well, I should say $200 a month in additional income you could have if we just took that money and put it in the United States Treasury bond. So don't let your money be lazy. You've worked too hard for it. But in the case of this family, they really need to get themselves together. And the husband needs to agree to this. If he doesn't, get a bigger skillet and whack him on the head with it, because you've got to get this figured out. Don't leave it until he's gone and you're trying to put it together after he's gone. Don't leave it until you're both gone and the kids are trying to figure out what's there. Let's get your family's information together and solid now while you both can help.
All righty, and get to our next one here. Here's a good one. I'm thinking about downsizing my house now that I'm retiring. Is it a more efficient choice to buy a smaller place outright or invest more money and mortgage a brand new place?
Oh, Ralph, I can't answer the question. It's just too broad, and there's not enough information in the question for me to give him an answer. You see, that's a very customized sort of question, and it needs a very customized kind of answer. Because there are some people who need to move to the smaller place and conserve their money and handle it differently. There are some people for whom that new place might involve a mortgage, or it might not be best to have a mortgage in place. There are just so many different variables that come into the math question there that without a lot more information, I couldn't answer. But if you really want help with that, I mean, if one of our clients brought that question to us, we would help them sit down, pencil it out, and figure out what was going to be best for them. That's what we do at the Wealth Care Corporation, is we help people figure out the answer to economic questions just like that one.
Okay, good friends. So whoever wrote that question, give Barry a call. He'd love to meet with you and talk specifically about your situation. I've recently come into an unexpected inheritance is our next question. I'm wondering about some ways to invest or what to do with this money. Can you guide me, Barry, on investment strategies which might help me avoid a hefty tax bill with what I'm about to get?
Well, I haven't had this question since earlier this week when that exact question was emailed into me by a client on behalf of a friend of his that he was trying to help and kind of steer our direction. So here's the answer to the question regarding your hefty tax bill from your inheritance. Unless you inherited more than $13 million, it's probably not a concern. Because the law says right now that you can give away $13 million to your kids and there won't be any inheritance tax involved in that. Now, if a part of what you inherit is an IRA account, there may be some income taxes that are still due on that account. And yes, we can help you figure out what those taxes are, when you will incur those taxes, and some steps you can take to protect yourself from those particular taxes. But what you really need is you really need to finalize your own retirement plan, because now that you've received this money, however much it is, the fact that it's an inheritance is irrelevant. That is just money that is in your life for you to spend on the things that you need to, and that's probably going to be your retirement. So let's design a retirement plan for you that includes that money and talks about how to use all of the financial assets and resources that you've put together to make sure that you have the income that you want and need to last every year of your life until you're 100 years old. That's what we do in step number 1 of the 6 steps to retirement confidence, was we ensure lifetime income to age 100.
Want to know about the other 5 steps? Hey, get with Barry. That'll do it for our show. But as we leave you here, keep Barry on your mind. Keep the number close by, 417-200-3500. Text the word book, B-O-O-K, to that number. Text the word visit to get together. And Barry, these questions are all great. I know this provides a lot of great material for the mail questions that you write about in your book, and some we answer on our TV show, don't they?
Well, they do, and I enjoy the questions, and I'm glad to help. I mean, we're here to help people. And
Sure.
I get that you have questions and don't know. The only way you can know is by asking. So we're here to help you answer your questions.
Hey, and thanks for joining us, friends. What I mentioned about, hey, hope you'll watch Barry and me on television. 3 channels, right, Barry? Not just KY3.
Yep.
3 channels.
KY3, KOLR, and KRBK, Fox, CBS, and NBC, all
That's
right
fabulous.
here every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays in Springfield.
Yeah. Watch us on any of the 3 channels. Great information on the TV side, more of your questions, Barry's book, and our radio show. All together, you'll really get a good handle on retiring with confidence. Barry, thanks a lot, my friend. Always great to chat with you and see you on camera and be with you beside the microphone here. Always enjoy it.
I'll look forward to seeing you again next time on the radio.
And hope you'll join us again next time for What's on Wealth, the radio show. This is Ralph Hipp for Barry and the whole team. Goodbye for now.
Thank you for stopping by What's on Wealth. If you would like Barry and his team to help you make a plan to get to and through retirement, or would simply like a second opinion on your current plan, give us a call today at 417-200-3500. That's 417-200-3500. And join us again next week for What's on Wealth.
WealthCare Corporation provides tax strategy, tax compliance, accounting, and insurance services through its affiliate American Tax Strategies, LLC. Investment advisory services are provided by WealthCare Asset Management, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Past performance never guarantees future results. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be used as the basis for personal financial decisions without first consulting a qualified advisor. The information and opinions you've heard are believed reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to accuracy and completeness.